Hello, Rob. It's nice to see you again. Welcome to Movies and Musicals. We last spoke in London, actually. I was just thinking back there when Mary Poppins
Oh
Returns opened.
wow! Oh, thank you for remembering that.
Yeah, I can't help but think you're a brave man, Rob. You're taking on another beloved feature. I'm wondering why and what you thought you could bring to it.
Well, I have to say, it was daunting when I was first offered it because, first of all, sort of the how of it was so. What? How do you do an underwater musical? How is that done? But also, the most important thing for me when I'm looking at a project is why. More than even how. And so I went back to the Hans Christian Andersen tale, and I found something there that was very moving to me. I found this theme that ran through the piece about a young girl who feels displaced, doesn't feel she belongs or fits in, and embarks on this epic journey of self-discovery for herself to reach to another world and learns not to be afraid of people that are different than her. And, in this increasingly divisive world, I felt like this was such an antidote to that, not being afraid of people that are on the other side of a border or a wall.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's really, isn't that timely? Isn't that important to remember that, there's tolerance about that kind of thing. And I love that she's so strong-headed and strong-willed. She believes the people up there are good people.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so I found it a very contemporary theme and a very modern theme, and because this movie took 4.5 years for me to create, it was something I held on to while I was working on it because you're doing all the detail of what this complicated movie and challenging movie is, but I felt underneath there was something special to say.
You are, of course, king of the musicals. We mentioned Mary Poppins Returns, but Back to Chicago, Into the Woods, and all your work on Broadway. I couldn't believe, Rob, that you hadn't worked with Alan Menken
I
before.
know, isn't that crazy? I know we felt the
Yeah.
same way. I mean, we both come from the theater as well, so it's so interesting how our paths had never crossed. But I have to say, it was worth the wait. I mean, he's so divine. He's such a wonderful collaborator. He's there for the project. He's there for the vision. Um, in some ways, I think he would say this too. I was more protective of the material than even he was,
Yeah.
because I know, what's important to people in terms of this. But he really wanted to help reimagine this. And see, because it's a different genre. I mean, your animation is just different than live action. You can't take that and just translate it without reimagining it in some way. And we found that we could actually make it a fuller experience, a deeper experience, um, and a more emotional experience ultimately too.
Well, it's so emotional also because of the nostalgic value of Howard Ashman and those songs, Part of Your World,
Yes,
Under the Sea. There's a huge nostalgia and emotion.
yes.
But also, I always think, the best musicals, it's not like we're going to just stop now and break into song. It has to move the narrative
Thank
forward.
you for
And
that.
so, again, yourself and Alan Menken and our new lyricist, Lin-Manuel Miranda, have brought, three new songs to it. Can you tell us in terms of the narrative why they were needed?
Well, thank you for saying that because that's the most important thing to me. That songs, when they come in a musical, especially a film musical, which is a much more realistic genre, it just feels like you're there. It has to be earned. It can't just plop a song anywhere. It has to feel organic to the story. It has to move, as you just said so beautifully. It has to move the story along. If you pulled it out, the story wouldn't work. It's all part of the fabric, and you shouldn't be aware that they're singing. This should be seamless. That was the goal. We felt that Eric, the character of Eric, needed a song. He never had a song in the original film. What's his story? What are his wants? So we needed to understand and feel from him. So it was so wonderful to write this Wild Uncharted Waters to feel his passion and what he wants. And so that was something we found, and a new character of the Queen. He has a parallel story to Ariel. They both feel misunderstood, which is why I think they're kindred spirits and find each other. There's a song called "For the First Time." Ariel only had one song in the original film, one. That's it. So we were like, that doesn't make sense. So we wanted to understand what she felt like when she first arrives on land. What is that feeling? Is it wonderful? It is. It's wonderful, but it's also scary. It's a combination of everything, uncomfortable but beautiful. I mean, everything. So that was that song, and then we found there was a scene, and we had Awkwafina playing Scuttle, who's just so inventive and wonderful, and David Diggs as Sebastian. We thought, well, we can make something really special. We can take a scene where Scuttle's getting all the information wrong about what's happening on land, and turn it into a rap/patter song. And that was fun with this new number, the Scuttlebutt.
It was great.
But it was all sort of, every song, as you said, has to be earned. You have to be very careful where you place them.
And just a final question, you mentioned David Diggs there, so great as Sebastian. I was interested to hear him mention that you rehearsed like it was a stage musical, even though you have the part on land, the part under the sea, post-production. Tell me a little bit about the rehearsal process, because that's so complicated on this occasion.
It was so important. My mantra the entire time was, please do not let the technical part of this film lead it. It has to be about the acting. It has to be about the story. Otherwise, you're not engaged. Who cares, right? So I was very protective about our time, rehearsal time, and even with the voices. So I made sure that Awkwafina, David Diggs, and Jacob Tremblay all were in rehearsal with us as we created this piece, because those relationships are so key. Ariel's relationship with these characters, Triton's relationship with these characters, it all has to be very real. And so we rehearsed in a space, and I loved it because it's so private. And I always try and make the actors feel protected, feel they can make mistakes and be terrible so that they can get better and not feel judged. And it's really important. That's where all the gold comes from. That's where all the all the special relationships and all of the nuances of the movie happen there. And so I'm always, listen, I always feel that musicals specifically are a hybrid between theater and film because of the process of having to rehearse, But when you have that, then when we go to film and all these technical things are happening and the actors are on crazy apparatus like tuning forks and wires and all kinds of crazy things, you realize that they already have embedded in their, in themselves and in the relationships and the work and all the acting work is already baked in.
Well, you did a super job once again, Rob Marshall. A great pleasure to talk to you again.
It's lovely to speak to you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.